have a cross necklace that I like to wear. I was wearing it one day when my daughter was about 5. She started yelling, "Take it off, mommy, take it off." When I asked her why, she said, "The lady in the corner really doesn't like it." Just then, there was an audible thump from the corner of the room. My daughter and I froze. I took it off immediately. To this day, I'm scared to wear the necklace in that room. In our teens, my younger brother and I bussed tables at a fancy restaurant across town during the summer. On one of the busiest nights, the manager offered us extra hours and a free dinner to stay later and help clean. Being so young and naive, and with no law saying we couldn't back then, we happily agreed and didn't end up leaving until 3 a.m. My brother drove and we just quietly listened to the radio. Then I started hearing a buzzing sound. I figured it was either static on the radio or noise from the engine, but it also kind of sounded like humming because it was so melodic. Perplexed, I turned down the volume and asked my brother if he had heard it too. He said he thought it was me and was confused as to why I was humming along to a different song than the one that was playing on the radio. By the time I said, "Not me," he'd slammed on the brakes. We both looked around to see what crossroad we'd reached. We looked to the right and found ourselves right in front of the cemetery. The humming didn't stop when the radio was turned down, and it distinctly sounded like it was a little girl's voice. After the initial shock wore off, we both screamed in unison, and I yelled, "What are you doing? Go!" When I was a little girl, I often had bad dreams involving a mean lady named Bridget. I don't know how I found her name out in the dreams, I just somehow knew. Bridget would chase me while yelling insults at me. She was tall, had long yellow hair, was around 50, and her eyes were brown. Other than these things, I couldn't really tell you what she looked like. The dreams started when I was around 4 and they stopped about 3rd grade. Then, when I was in 7th grade, I had an awful social studies teacher. She was constantly berating and yelling at students for minor things, sometimes even body shaming us. She was tall, with long yellow hair, and all the same features as Bridget. One day I heard her talking to another teacher, and I overheard them call her Bridget. She was later fired for punching a girl in the face and knocking out a tooth. I think my mind was somehow trying to warn me about her. I've never told anyone this story, but when I was younger we lived in a large house with a library. One day when I was about 7 or 8 we arrived home at around 10:30 at night. I was in the mudroom and I distinctly heard someone who sounded exactly like my mother call my name right next to my ear, and then again in what sounded like the library, which was in a completely different part of the house. It wouldn't have been possible for anyone to cover so much ground in such a short amount of time. My mom was nearby, so I asked if she heard that. She gave me a weird look and said no. I walked to the library and there was a figure there. In the blink of an eye it was gone. I don't believe in ghosts, but I've read stories about ghosts or demons calling a kid's name to lure them. I don't have an explanation for what happened, and I still think about it to this day.